Here's a pretty common problem. You just got through caulking and you still have quite a bit of caulk left in the cartridge. How do you seal that nozzle so you can reuse it? Well, I've tried several things. I've tried just taping it with duct tape, putting wire nuts on there. You may have seen that trick. I even tried putting in a really long nail because I thought, well, if the caulk hardened in the nozzle, I could yank out the nail and at least it'd be a channel and the caulk could come out. None of those techniques work. So I came up with this idea and it works every time. I've used this for the last few years and I haven't had a single tube of caulk fail. Go out and buy a length of tubing. It's typically sold as 5/8 inch tubing, which is the outside diameter. But what you're looking for is a 1/2 inch diameter inside dimension. That's the most important dimension. And then get a pair of snips and cut off like a 4 or 5 inch long piece. That's all you need. Something like that. And now what we're going to do is heat one end of the tube. You want to heat it up. The best way to do it is with an electric heat gun. I'm not sure a blow dryer would get hot enough. And you could use a propane torch, but I think you'd have to be really careful because, you know, you might melt it instantly. So I've always used this technique and it works great. It takes a few minutes, but it works really well. So put it on high and just heat up the end of the tube until it starts to melt. Okay, I can smell it. So it's starting to soften up. I can see the end is curling a little bit. That's probably good right there. Okay, so now you want to immediately put it in a vise and clamp it. There you go. Just tight enough to compress that end. Now we have to wait. It takes a good 45 seconds or so. So I'll be right back. Okay, it's been almost a minute. Let's take it out, see what it looks like. There you go. See, what you have is a tube with the end that's been sealed. Now, the next step though is really important. You have to blow into the open end because you want to make sure that's completely airtight. If it's not, then what's the point? The caulk will get hard anyway. So you want to blow in that end perfectly. If you feel or sense some air leaking out of there, then what I'd suggest is cutting it off and just repeating the process, because I think once it's been clamped shut like that, there's no way to repair it if it is leaking air. But this one is nice and airtight. So now, when you have an open tube of caulk, you just have to wedge it on there. And this is why that 1/2 inch inside diameter is so important. It's a nice tight fit. You notice it doesn't just slip on. It's nice and tight, and that's completely airtight. You only have to go on 1/2 inch or whatever that is, 3/4 of an inch. So now it's completely air sealed. And the next time you need to caulk a job, you just pop that off and get to work. I love my machinist vise. I use it in the shop all the time. It's got nice strong jaws, a little anvil here for banging things out. I even mounted it to a board. It's just 3/4 inch plywood with a couple of machine screws, just so I can move it around. I didn't want it permanently mounted somewhere. So now if I need it at my workbench, I can just clamp it in place. If I have to take it to a job site, I can take it with me. Now the one concern is that if you look at the jaws, they have really sharp and rough surface on there, which is great when you're clamping like a piece of metal because it really grips it and it won't slip as you're tightening it up. But if you're clamping wood, that might be a problem. So what you need to make are a couple of saddles. These are vise saddles. It's just 1/2 inch plywood that's notched to fit over the throat of the vise. This is the throat, and you want these legs to be long enough that the saddles won't fall over on their own. So once those are in place, there's no fear of them shifting out of position. You put your piece of wood in there, crank it really tightly without any fear of scratching up the wood. If you enjoyed this video, please support us by liking and subscribing. Hey, thanks for watching.